The movie opens at the 1976 German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Niki Lauda looks at the sky and narrates that people have always called him and James Hunt rivals, though he doesn't understand why. As the race begins, both men and the other drivers speed off around the dangerous track. 6 years earlier, James Hunt walks into a hospital with a dirty racing uniform, a bloody nose, and a wound on his abdomen. When he introduces himself, everyone is shocked. A nurse named Gemma treats him. She explains that the wound came from another man attacking him with a crowbar. James says they argued over the man's wife. "I only did what she asked," he jokes. James later takes Gemma to the Crystal Palace circuit to meet his Formula 3 team. Before the race, he throws up, which worries her, but the crew says he always does this before competing. That's when James sees Niki Lauda for the first time. They race, and Niki almost wins, but he spins out when his engine overheats. That gives James the victory. After the race, Niki confronts James and calls him an idiot, but James and his team just laugh him off. Niki explains in narration that he comes from a wealthy family of politicians and economists. He asks his father for money to join a Formula One team, but his father refuses. So Niki takes out a bank loan on his own and buys his way into a team. He designs his own car, making it as fast as he believes it should be. Clay Regazzoni, a respected driver, tests the car and proves that it's faster than the team's old one. Niki convinces manager Louis Stanley to sign him with a 2-year contract, even though he's still a rookie. Later, Regazzoni tells Niki he saw him talking to the attractive track manager. He warns him that her last boyfriend was a racer who was crazy and an immortal idiot. That racer turns out to be James Hunt. James's team, Hesketh Racing, gives him a new Formula One car, which he immediately loves. While preparing for the season at Watkins Glen, a serious accident on the track shakes him up and makes him vomit again. In the garage, he imagines himself driving the perfect race until a model named Susie Miller interrupts him. Shortly after meeting her, James marries Susie. After the wedding, James hears that Niki Lauda is joining Ferrari. Niki tests one of Ferrari's cars and calls it a piece of crap, but he still signs the official contract. Later, Regazzoni drives him to a party, but Niki stays outside, uninterested. Niki notices a beautiful woman leaving the party. Her name is Marlene Knaus. He asks her for a ride, and she agrees to take him. During the drive, he criticizes her car and her driving until the car suddenly breaks down in the middle of the road. Marlene manages to stop 2 Italian men for help, and they get excited when they recognize Niki Lauda. Marlene has no idea who he is, but she convinces him to drive the car once it starts again. Niki speeds down the road, impressing her and thrilling the 2 Italian fans. The 1975 Formula One season begins, and Niki wins the World Championship. Later, at a party, James speaks with Niki. Niki tells him that all his showing off means nothing. This motivates James even more to beat Niki in the next season. James goes to the Hesketh Racing garage and finds it closed. They missed the sponsor deadline and the team has shut down. Depressed, James turns to alcohol and cigarettes and ends up arguing with Susie. Soon after, he meets with the McLaren team managers and manages to secure a spot on their team. The 1976 season begins. Niki wins in Brazil and South Africa, while James finishes second in both races. James finally wins in Spain, but the victory is taken away when officials declare the back of his car too wide. Niki continues winning in Monaco and Belgium. Things get worse for James when he learns Susie is having an affair with actor Richard Burton. They meet one final time at a bar to discuss their marriage and decide to divorce. When James steps outside to meet the press, he jokes that the divorce was his easiest win. Soon after, James's disqualification is overturned, and his car is modified to meet regulations. Meanwhile, Niki and Marlene marry in a private ceremony and spend their honeymoon in Spain. That night, after some fun in the pool, Niki tells Marlene that now that he's found happiness, it scares him because he finally has something to lose. During the practice session for the German Grand Prix, a horrible accident occurs and a driver's leg is severely broken. Niki calls a meeting with the other racers and officials. He argues that the race should be canceled due to the heavy rain, saying it's too dangerous. James then convinces other drivers that Niki only wants to cancel the race to protect his lead, while another driver suggests Niki is simply scared. Niki admits openly that he is scared because the rain increases the chance of death, but he also knows everyone else is scared too. Despite some drivers agreeing with him, the majority vote to continue with the race as planned. The race begins with both James and Niki using rain tires. During the race, both James and Niki are forced to change to slick tires at a pit stop as the track begins to dry quickly. On the third lap, a suspension arm in Niki's car breaks. He swerves off the track and crashes into a wall, and the car immediately bursts into flames. Two other cars hit him, and several drivers rush to pull Niki from the burning wreck. Niki is taken to the hospital, where 6 doctors and 34 nurses tend to him. His condition turns out to be worse than originally reported. Marlene hears the news on the radio. Over the next 6 weeks, Niki recovers in the hospital, but suffers severe third-degree burns on his face and lung damage from toxic fumes. His lungs are treated and the top half of his head is badly disfigured. During his recovery, he watches James continue racing and scoring points. When Niki is able to stand again, he tries to put his helmet back on, but the burns make it extremely painful. Marlene tells him to stop, but Niki insists, saying that if she truly loves him, she will let him do it. Niki eventually returns to the racetrack, where James meets him and says he tried to write while Niki was in the hospital and feels responsible for what happened. Niki responds that James is equally responsible for pushing him to get back behind the wheel after seeing him racing on TV. At a press conference, Niki answers questions about his recovery and his plans to continue racing. One reporter asks how his wife reacted when she saw his face. Niki replies that she told him he doesn't need a face to drive, he just needs the right foot. The reporter presses again, asking if Niki thinks his marriage will suffer due to his disfigurement. Niki gives a sharp reply, expletive you. After the press conference, James confronts the reporter, punching him repeatedly in the face. He then tells him to go home and ask his wife how he looks, calling him a prick. The final race of the season is at the Japanese Grand Prix, where it is raining even harder than in Germany. Before the race starts, James and Niki acknowledge each other with a friendly wave and nod. As the race progresses, Niki takes the lead over James but starts thinking about Marlene. Realizing the danger, he chooses to forfeit the race to avoid risking his life again. After the Japanese Grand Prix, Niki rejoins his wife, Marlene. James continues the race under extremely difficult conditions. Near the end, he has to make a late pit stop because his tires are wearing out. As he crosses the finish line, the scoreboard shows he placed 5th, which would mean he missed the championship. However, it is later reported that he actually finished 3rd, giving him the championship victory. While James celebrates, Niki and Marlene leave in a helicopter. Marlene asks if he is okay, and Niki says yes, explaining that he has no regrets. After his win, James continues his playboy lifestyle and endorses several products. While in Bologna, Italy, he visits an airfield where Niki has taken up flying planes. Niki tells James that he would have won if he had continued racing, and he criticizes James for taking unnecessary risks. Before leaving, Niki admits that finding an enemy like James gave him something important in life. James smiles and rejoins his friends. The film ends with brief footage of the real James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Niki narrates that James retired 2 years later and sadly died of a heart attack at age 45. Niki explains that James was one of the few people he truly respected, and to this day, the only person he ever envied. And that's the end of our story. Don't forget to subscribe and like so I can continue sharing more true stories.